The distress beacon pierced through the void of space like a dying scream. It came from the civilian transport Harmony's Dream, carrying 300 Velthran refugees and their younglings across the neutral zone. The message was brief: under attack. Scarvan Raiders, please anyone help us. In the Grand Council chambers of the Galactic Union, the transmission played on repeat. Ambassador Thelkor of Velthra stood before the assembled delegates, his 4 eyes glistening with desperation. Please, he begged, his translator struggling with the emotion in his voice. They are innocents, families. We have no military vessels in that sector. The Kryn representative shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The neutral zone is outside our jurisdiction. Our fleet cannot or will not. Thelkor's voice cracked. The human ambassador, Director Sarah Chen, rose slowly from her seat. The chamber fell silent. Humans were still relatively new to the Galactic Union, only 70 years since first contact, and they remained an enigma to most species. The Harmony's Dream will be rescued, Chen said quietly. With respect, Director, the Kryn delegate interjected. Your navy is 3 systems away. By the time any legitimate military force arrives, those refugees will be dead or worse. Chen's smile was cold. I didn't say anything about the navy. 6 hours later, 3 unmarked ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the neutral zone. They were smaller than military frigates, older, with mismatched hull plating and enough weaponry to arm a small fleet. To any scanner, they appeared to be independent freighters. But the Scarvan Raiders, had they been paying attention, might have noticed something peculiar about their energy signatures. Something predatory. Aboard the lead ship, Palehorse, Captain Marcus Ghost Reeves studied the tactical display. The Harmony's Dream hung dead in space, surrounded by 4 Scarvan cruisers like sharks circling wounded prey. He could see the boarding tubes already attached. Status. His voice was gravel and smoke. 2 of the cruisers have skeleton crews aboard the transport, his tactical officer replied. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka had 14 confirmed ship kills in the border wars. I'm reading life signs scattered throughout. Some fighting on deck 3. They're still resisting. That was the 3rd voice on the bridge, belonging to a man who went only by priest. Nobody asked why a priest carried so many scars or knew 17 ways to breach a starship hull. Ghost activated the comm. Night Witch Valkyrie, you reading this? Duh, came the clipped response from Captain Natasha Volkov of the Night Witch. I see them. Loud and clear, Ghost. That was Commander James Okonkwo of the Valkyrie. 4 against 3. Almost seems fair. Almost, Ghost agreed. Valkyrie, you take the FAR 2. Night Witch, breach port side. We'll handle starboard. Rules of engagement are simple. Any Scarvan on that transport dies. Any that run, we let them go. This isn't about revenge. Speak for yourself, Natasha muttered, but her tone was professional. She'd lost family to Scarvan Raiders during the Outer Colonies massacre. The 3 ships moved with a precision that would have impressed any military force in the galaxy. They had fought together in places the Union refused to acknowledge existed. Black sites, corporate wars, border skirmishes, too politically inconvenient for official records. They were privateers, mercenaries, and former special forces operators. They were, in the terminology of Old Earth, the kind of people you called when you needed someone dead and couldn't afford questions. The first Scarvan cruiser never saw them coming. Palehorse materialized from sensor shadow, weapons hot, and punched 3 breaching pods through the hull before the Raiders could sound an alarm. Ghost and his team of 12 breached in vacuum suits, weapons drawn. What followed wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The Scarvan were apex predators on their own world. 3 meters of muscle, scales, and teeth. They'd terrorized the space lanes for generations, and the Union had been too slow, too bureaucratic, too bound by law to stop them effectively. But humans had learned war in crucibles that made the Scarvan look like amateurs. Ghost moved through the ship like a shadow, his team flowing around him in practiced coordination. They used the environment, the gravity shifts, the tight corridors. When the Scarvan rushed them with superior numbers, they fell back into kill zones. When the Raiders tried to use hostages from their own crew, the humans took shots that no other species would have attempted, and made them. Aboard the Harmony's Dream, Priest led his team through the boarding tube. The Scarvan had been thorough, herding the Velthran refugees into cargo holds while they stripped anything valuable. 6 Raiders stood guard outside the main hold, weapons trained on the sealed door. They died before they could turn around. Moving to secure the refugees, Priest reported, his voice calm as he stepped over the bodies. Behind him, his team swept the corridors with brutal efficiency. These were men and women who'd survived the siege of Proxima, the Voidwalker insurgency, the classified hell of Operation Blackout. They'd learned a simple truth. Mercy was for after the battle, not during. The fighting lasted 14 minutes. When it was over, the 4 Scarvan cruisers were either disabled or fleeing into hyperspace, their crews decimated. The Harmony's Dream hung in space, damaged but intact. 300 Velthran refugees huddled in the cargo holds, traumatized but alive. Ghost stood on the bridge of the transport, watching the last Scarvan ship jump away. Around him, Velthran crew members stared at the humans with a mixture of terror and awe. "Why?" asked the transport's captain, an elderly Velthran named Morith. "Why did you come? We are not of your species. We have nothing to offer you." Ghost looked at him for a long moment. "Your ambassador asked for help," he said simply. Someone had to answer. "But you are—" Morith struggled for words. "You are warriors, killers. Why would killers come to save us?" "Because sometimes," Ghost said quietly, "the most dangerous humans are the ones who've seen enough death to know what's worth saving." He turned and walked toward the boarding tube, his team falling in around him. Behind them, the Velthran refugees whispered among themselves about the humans who had appeared from nowhere, fought like demons and asked for nothing in return. In the Galactic Union chambers, Ambassador Chen received the report and smiled. The other species would never truly understand humans, she thought. They saw the violence, the lethal efficiency, the capacity for destruction. They didn't understand that the same traits that made humans dangerous also made them defender of the desperate. The most lethal humans had answered the call. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the word spread among raiders and pirates. The humans had extended their protection. And the humans, unlike the Union, didn't need permission to enforce it.